Good morning. Good morning and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this morning. I am running a poll already. I've just started the poll, shaved this morning. And the poll question is, I'm going to give you pros and cons into both scenarios. Should Celtic offer Martin O'Neill a 1-year deal? Yes, no, or we need to think long term. Shaved this morning. And I'm going to give you pros, cons, and we'll talk about the other people that are linked. Now, why are we talking about this today? Today is the last press conference that Martin O'Neill will take this season when it comes to league business. Celtic need to make the decision quick. Really need to make the decision quick. So, by the powers of television, as they say, should Celtic keep Martin O'Neill as a manager? Now, the pros. He came in twice when Celtic needed him. We're one game away from winning the league. We're in the Scottish Cup final on the 23rd of May. He knows how to win at Celtic. He has massive experience in handling pressure. He commands instant respect of the players, the media, everyone around him. He has a strong mentality and leadership. He could deliver silverware this season, and let's face it, I think we would have won the League Cup earlier on this season if he had stayed around. And you know, it gives us short-term stability. That's all the pros for keeping Martin O'Neill. And I can understand the emotional attachment that we have to Martin O'Neill. And to be fair, there's a part of me, I would love nothing better than Martin O'Neill to stay at Celtic. And I mean that with all my heart. I think that it would be... Sometimes you've got to let your head rule your heart and not just be a little badge kisser. Do you know, we have to think for the more long term of the club. You need to think about the objective of the club. You need to kind of put a business head on and think, you know, just past next season. Because if we were to keep Martin O'Neill as manager next season, and you've got to look at the cons of keeping him. And, you know, to give it a level playing field, he's 74 years old. That's old. Never mind in the modern game. He's old. He's an old man. Modern football is involved tactically. He's proven that he can do it at the highest level. He can get us wins in Europe. But does that come down to Fozzie and Maloney? How much do they get out of it? Can he endure the rigours? Would this delay the long-term plan? I think it would. I think that we're basically just passing it down the line for things to be sorted out at Celtic. If we were to keep Martin O'Neill as manager, it would be great and fantastic, but we're giving the board freedom of another year, realistically. And although there is a meeting with Willie Hawkey and Paul McStay on Tuesday evening, I think that giving the board another year would create a bit of division going into next season. But we'll wait and see. The emotional appointment. Is it an emotional appointment or a strategic one? I've put that as a con because I think that it would be entirely emotionally led to keep Martin O'Neill as manager. I've said it myself. I'd love him as manager. I would love it as manager so I could get back and see him managing Celtic. This is the first season that I've never came back for the last game, and I was back for the last game of the season last season, and I've missed it. I've missed not buying merch this season. I don't know, whilst I still fit into this old tenants top from back in the day. It's got the year on it, hasn't it? When we look at the emotional attachment that would be good to keep Martin, is it a strategic one? You've then got to look at the recruitment model, the questions of the recruitment. You look at the recruitment that was made in the last transfer window. These were all players that were signed off by Martin O'Neill. Many of them not deemed good enough by Martin O'Neill. Joe Mavuka played one game, played half a game, 45 minutes of football. And Martin O'Neill says he was too enthusiastic and he was too over-energetic and he's never been seen since. Martin O'Neill made that decision to sign him off. And then you've got to look at the other players that came in. Oxlade-Chamberlain, stopgap. Has he improved the team? Will he be given an offer to will he be given an offer to stay at the club next year? I'm not too sure. But then when you look at the energy, the intensity of the demands, this picture was taken when Martin O'Neill came back to Celtic. When you look at the pictures of him now, he looks as if he's aged about 5 years. And since January, is it fair to put that kind of pressure? And you know, it's not just the pressure; it's the day-to-day. At that age, we shouldn't be expecting. You're not at that age. You're not getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning every day to go to work and the rigors of going to work every day. Do you know what I mean? It's proper pipe and slippers stuff that you're doing. Having relaxing walks, getting up in the morning, going down to a coffee shop, having your little coffee, grabbing a bit of breakfast somewhere. Don't know, days out, enjoying yourself. Would it be fair to put Martin through a full calendar year of the exertions? It was said when he went away in Europe in his first time round at Celtic that he didn't cope with the turnaround so easily. The flying home during the night, so he made sure that the club stayed at the hotel the next game. Don't know, he didn't cope with the flying home and getting home at 4 o'clock in the morning and then a couple of hours sleep and then back into Lennoxtown. It took it out on him. Celtic got their finger out and did the right thing. They don't stay in the hotel, fly, do a training session at the away game the next morning and then fly home. Everybody's fresh. You get back and, the players, it delays them. So you've got to then say, that's another pro against keeping Martin O'Neill. The energy, the intensity, the demands of running the football club. I've put down the lack of recent elite club management because Brendan Rodgers was seen as an elite club manager, managing at the highest level. I think that Martin O'Neill has it in him. But some people will say, well, you've got an old man looking after the club again. And then the final one for the cons that I've put, is 1 year enough to build for the future? We're at a turning point once again at Celtic. We're almost back where we were before Ange Postecoglou came in. We had a massive rebuild then. We always knew that the team that got us to the 10, the team that got us to the 9, and then some would stay on for the 10, some decided not to stay on to try and get the 10, some left, thought that we'll go out on the high, riding the wave of 9 in a row. Some players thought, we've reached that, we've equalled what the club did in the 60s. I don't want the pressure of maybe trying to get the 10, the elusive 10 that Rangers couldn't even get, and if Celtic got it, it would have been the meltdowns then would have been unbelievable. But COVID came and we all know the story. Celtic are not in as bad a position as we were after the 9, but there will be a massive turnover of players. And I think that when you look at that, and I could get really, you can go down the romantic road. We're one game away from the Scottish League. One game. We're in the Scottish Cup final on the 23rd of May. The younger me, and this is you maybe calm down a bit as you get older, but the younger me would be like, nope, Martin has to stay. But having the respect that I do for Martin, and I'm going to let you listen to a bit of the interview when Martin O'Neill came back to Celtic, he was asked whether he would stay on at the end of this season. Now, this was before a ball was kicked. This video, it's just not got the release date on it. What was the exact date? In fact, this was the 28th of October. This one was. This is when he came back the first time. And this is what Martin O'Neill had to say then about staying on longer than this season.
That's not been discussed, and I wouldn't imagine it, you know.
Sean, you've mentioned it was a tough day at Lennoxtown this morning. Who are the leaders in the dressing room? Whenever that may be, do you think you'll remain at the club in any sort of capacity?
That's never been discussed, and I'm quite sure no. I'll just go into the sunset and disappear again. You know, I think so. I wouldn't imagine that that's the case. And no, my job is here to try and I suppose if spirits are low, then part of my job is to do that, to lift it. And I think, in all honesty, I will get a lift from the team itself.
Now that was, I'm going to put this full screen because Martin O'Neill looks way younger. This was back in October, and you know, look how young Martin O'Neill looks then. When he does the press conference today, take that into consideration when you watch the press conference at Celtic today, his final one in the league, and then remember this video and remember that picture of Martin O'Neill in that press conference back then. I'm not saying that he's not healthy now, but you can see that the rigours have taken its toll on the person, on Martin O'Neill. You can tell that it takes... He'll be glad of the rest. He'll be glad of once we get to the 24th and the players have had a little night out and, you know, he's said their goodbyes at the end of the evening. And then that's it. Do you know, when and if Celtic win the Scottish Cup and they go to a hotel in Glasgow and they have a little get together, they have a little party, and when Martin O'Neill says his goodbyes, is that for good? Players won't get emotional. Players will be worried about who's maybe coming in next. But anyway, that is my pros and cons for keeping Martin O'Neill as a manager. And like I said, I would love nothing more, but Michelle says, to be fair, Celtic's aged us all 10 years this season. We all look haggard. Yes, this is true. It's like, I think, well, whatever happens this weekend and whatever happens next weekend, I think that we just would take a week and just sleep. And I mean that, we just sleep. It's just like, oh, fuck. But anyway, right, give me your thoughts in the comments section. The poll is sitting at, it is a live poll, so if you're watching this later on, you won't see the poll questions because it's running on the live only. Should Celtic offer Martin O'Neill a 1-year deal? Yes is sitting at 55%. No is sitting at 23%. And we need to think long term is also sitting at 23%. It's quite divided between the people online this morning. There's been over 177 votes so far. And I think it's an interesting one. I can understand why so many people are saying yes. But how many people are really just thinking with their hearts? Just, you know, giving Celtic loads of love bombs. But anyway, and in other Celtic news this morning, I'm going to try and stay away from the previous game as much as possible. Has Oxlade-Chamberlain done enough to warrant an extended stay at Celtic next year? I think that should be left to the next manager to decide. Obviously, he will take... It'll be interesting to see who will... Because if Fozzie leaves Celtic at the end of the season after the cup final, Fozzie's the one that's kind of been doing a lot in the training pitch. Sean Maloney spoke up Fozzie so much back in in October, he really spoke. He really talked up Fozzie and what. And a lot of people say, "Well, what on earth has Mark Fotheringham done?" Well, he went away to Germany, and he worked under a top manager in Germany, and then he was down in Swansea, and he did wonders down there allegedly. But he was really respected by Martin O'Neill. Fozzie's came back to the club, and do you know, we all want him to stay. Will he stay in some capacity? We don't know. We know that Sean Maloney will still be at the club. May only be for one more year, depending on the position that he gets. But who should be making that shout? How much information will be left around Celtic? Does Fozzie then get a phone call from the manager to what do you think about these players? Do they write a report card at the end of the season? Don't know, stick, twist, and sell. It's going to be an interesting one. Anyway, with the eyes of the world on Scottish football after the absolutely meltdown, complete meltdown of the Scottish media, the UK media wide, the UK media dragging the referees into disrepute. People within the Scottish football fraternity will have to make one of the biggest U-turns ever in Scottish football. After seeing the picture, the conclusive picture on Sky, and it was also the picture that I used for the community tab yesterday, the conclusive picture that it was a handball. There's no denying now, after seeing the photographer that took that picture, he must have took around about 30 or 40 pictures a second to be able to get the exact timing correct. But it is what it is. We'll have to wait to see. It's the meltdown of all meltdowns, wasn't it? It's ridiculous, man. But anyway, Celtic going to the weekend, the referees going to the weekend, do they even think about it? Do they read the... who cares? Let's just get the game on at the weekend. Anyway, one thing that we spoke about last night is a lot of people are getting caught up in the stats of this season. Celtic winning late's not just this season. If you look back to under Ange Postecoglou, for instance, a player that gets a lot of stick at Celtic right now, who's come onto a game, who's even scored this season. And I think that the last time that he scored, Tony Ralston, before this season, was that night, that late night in the Highlands of Scotland, when he scored in the 90-odd minute. It's amazing how people just become so solely focused on the here and now, when you can go back, way back to, I've said it before, you can go back to the Tommy Burns era for late goals. Jeez, man, Lineker. Jesus. Anyway, what is the agenda? I'm going to say this one. What is the agenda of the Herald Group? The Herald Group that own certain fan media websites. What is the agenda? They've went out and interviewed Wilfred Nancy quite extensively. They ran stories yesterday. They're running another story this morning about Wilfred Nancy. And it's like, why? We expect managers to be questioned on the reasoning behind decisions and things. We ask managers, why did you leave this player out? Why is this player not playing? Can you give us an update? But the mainstream media, in the final week of the season, the Herald Scotland group decide to go and interview Wilfred Nancy to dig up the past and allow him to have a little bit of a go at our players, saying that it was the players' fault. Putting it all on the players, saying that they weren't ready for him. He was ready for them, but they weren't ready for him, and they weren't good enough, basically. I would like to know, you're not going to get the answer for that, and I'm certainly not going to get the answer to that. There's no right to reply with those type of things. But anyway, it's just a quick one this morning because it is Friday morning. Be interesting to see what Martin O'Neill says at his final press conference this afternoon. Should he stay on at Celtic next season is the question this morning. Is it a risk? Is it a gamble? Is it looking through green-tinted specs? Or do we really need to bring in a manager that will take Celtic forward for the next 3 or 4 seasons potentially? Don't know, pick someone that has a little bit of a track record of building things. We all loved Brendan Rodgers when he came in the first time, and it was all about, Brendan Rodgers shook everything up at Celtic, took everything that next level. Wanted to get the pitches right, wanted to get the academy, the B team, the first team training the exact same way, playing the same style of football. So when the players step up from the academy, they know the positions that they're playing well because it's the exact same way that the first team plays. I want the Celtic to get back to that. And my fear is that if you have Martin O'Neill, we are going really short-term thinking. But anyway, he is an absolute legend at Celtic. I think that, no matter what happens, Celtic have to honour Martin. I mean, people will say that, look, we've not really honoured Jock Stein in the way that Martin O'Neill's revered in modern day. It was Jock Stein that got us the Champions League final. Should we rename a stand for Martin O'Neill the way that we've had the great Stein? But anyway, could end up winning nothing, couldn't he? And then the whole should we name a stand after him? Just you bottled it twice, mate. You bottled it twice, mate. 2003, nada. You won nada. You're remembered for 2003, and it's the season that you won nothing. You achieved nothing. You're remembered for... Martin O'Neill's really remembered for glorious failure. That's the sad thing about it. He's remembered for the 6-2 game. He's remembered for the 5-1 game. He's remembered for big score lines against Rangers at the beginning of his tenure, and it was fantastic wiping the floor with that lot. But his biggest achievement has been remembered for a season that we won absolutely nothing. And that could still happen this season. Right, let's jump into the comments this morning. There has been a statement. It's all about statements right now. It's all about statements. There has been a statement from the Hong Kong market at the Barras this weekend. There's some crazy things going on in the world right now. The Hong Kong Market 2026 event has moved to reassure visitors that measures will take place on Saturday the 16th, the day on the market, which coincides with Celtic fans hopefully taking over. There's bus conveners' heads are going to be absolutely wasted this weekend because they go into the game on Saturday. It's an early kickoff, and the bus conveners will be like, right, do we stay after the game? Are you going into town? Are we going straight home? Bus conveners will be like, got a decision to make, yeah. And especially the ones that come from afar. It's like, well, do we hang around for a bit? It's anyway. Glad I'm not in it anymore. Miss it, lovely, but yeah. Anyway, the Hong Kong market is down at the Barras. It's a couple of day event. The Wee Union HK is aware that there is a major football final will be taking place at Celtic Park on the 16th of May, the first day of the HK market, the Hong Kong market. I'd love to go to that, actually. That'd be something funky to go to. Please be rest assured, we have already reported to the local police authorities, and additional security support is arranged by the Barras for crowd control so that the event runs smoothly. Because the last thing that they want is a whole shitload of steaming drunk Celtic fans coming in trying to get their chicken fried rice and out the Hong Kong market. Do you know what I mean? Oh, pure brilliant, man. Charlotte won the league. Or, you never know. We might not win the league. We're being a bit presumptuous. We've got to try and level it up here. And I hope we do. Anyway, yeah, some bun wanted the FBI involved. Huns getting offended on behalf of the wee Huns. It's an embarrassment. What are they? Why It's like when we watched the game the other evening, I didn't even include them in anything because they are irrelevant. Oxlade-Chamberlain has less legs than McGregor for midfield. No way an extension, says James. The English don't like Celtic. We all know that. They don't like Ireland either. And then the crazy thing is a lot of people from Ireland support English football teams. Mad. They weren't moaning when Tav got 150 penalties. Where's the badum dish? Where is the badum dish for that one? Oh, there it is. Yay! 150 penalties for Tav. Sorry, I won't do that again. Everyone is looking at the handball with tinted specs on because it's Celtic, so screw them. The SFA backed the decision. It is clearly handball. The meltdown is delicious. Follow me, I'm delicious. Oh, the big man himself. We've been winning late goals since the late 80s, 90s. No problem, this is very true. It's a bit concerning that Ralston is the only one not offered a new contract out of the people whose contract is due to finish. I don't think so, Michelle. I've spoken about this before. I don't know, I think that Tony has been at Celtic a long time. You've got to remember that Tony Ralston came through the ranks with Kieran Tierney. He came through the exact same time as Kieran Tierney. He's a player that's been at the club a long time. He isn't getting regular football, and he isn't getting any younger. And the thing is he will look at his mates in the Scotland squad. He will look at people that have played at Celtic that are in the Scotland squad and that have moved on. They will talk about the wages that they're on. They will talk about the fact that they're on 40, 50 grand a week. Tony Ralston will know that as much as it pains him to leave Celtic, if Tony Ralston was a first team starter, he's a first team starter for Scotland. He's an international player. Should he be being paid, international player type wages? And this is what Tony Ralston will be thinking about. And this is what his agent will think about. When you look at the likes of Ryan Christie, who left Celtic, had 6 months, years left on his contract, 6 months left on his contract, and he was sold for $3 million. When you look at Greg Taylor, Tony Ralston will be aware of, do you know what Greg got when he left Celtic? Players will talk. Tony will have to think about himself and his future, and he just wants to play football. Some Celtic fans will give Tony Ralston stick and say, get rid of him, he's not Celtic class. But you need people, I've said this before, we need people like Tony Ralston at the club. Now, luckily, we've got young Colby Donovan coming through. That's the next thing that Tony's then thinking about. I've got the young pretender coming through. Do you know, Kieran Tierney was the young pretender when we had Emilio Ezagiri. Celtic loves you more than you all know. Oh, 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 Emilio Ezagiri. Celtic. You know, he was the young pretender coming through, and he kept Emilio Ezagiri out of the team. Players know when their time's up at the club, and it generally happens. So, am I concerned about it? No. Would I like him to stay? We need Scottish players at the club. Luckily, we've got Colby Donovan. If he does move on this summer, he will get the well wishes of so many Celtic fans. And even the ones that don't think he's good enough will wish him well, because he's a player that will he will run through not just walk through he will run through a brick wall for the club. And you may come to miss that. You never know. People have said that we missed Greg Taylor. Where's Paul, just to wind him up? But yeah, I don't think it is a big, massive issue. Just ask him. If he says yes, no problem. We could build the team for the next 3 years. Hopefully Martin O'Neill will retire successfully at the end of the season with a double in his pocket. It's to upset the team on ahead of Saturday. Not watching it. You're not watching the game this weekend. Chris Boyd is still harping on about Alistair Johnston not getting a red. Chris Boyd is going to have the biggest come down ever. Come down. Well, we know he has them. The biggest backtrack. biggest backtrack ever. The biggest backtrack ever when he goes into work at the studio and Sky show him the handball. The Herald part is the Yun platoon. We only have one Scottish paper, the National. See what Charlie Mulgrew said about the handball. Derek McInnes, he was spot on. FBI, they want Starsky and Hutch next. Martin O'Neill should be offered a deal as soon as possible. Interesting that. When he's got the Maestro in his profile picture. And the Maestro will be in Glasgow this weekend. And he will be talking to fan media on Tuesday. Boyd and the rest of them, blue nosed, can't say that at this time in the morning. Let O'Neill walk into the sunset. That's his own words. Yes, it is. McInnes blaming every kind of bar himself. He's gutted because he blew it. And that's the issue, the wee tool. St Martin says Celtic will win tomorrow. No kidding. Just to confirm, guys on Celtic own Scotland, and it's a pleasure. Himself. I am going to jump to the end of the comments. Apologise if I haven't read your comment out, because I'm going to just do that the half hour this morning. Tony Ralston is solid defensively. He's got a great ball on him. He has a good shot. A wee bit chunk and slow. It's crazy because when you look at the physicality of Ralston, he's maybe not been at the gym as much as he was when he was younger, but when he came through the system with Kieran Tierney, you could tell that he was in the gym working out. You knew that he was a player that was like, I'm not getting bullied about in the pitch. But anyway, Chris Boyce has a master's degrees in physics because his mum told him so. Right, I'm going to finish up the poll question this morning. It's been turned on. God, it's flying up. Anyway, should Celtic offer Martin O'Neill a full-time contract at Celtic was the poll question. That was the pros and the cons. It's also got the list of the other managers that are up for debate and a little bit of a bet if you're a betting man. Next Celtic manager, Jens, who seems to be the number one. Robbie Keane, Roberto Martinez, Thomas Frank, Craig Bellamy, Ange Postecoglou, who's been linked with it again. Darren Fletcher and Stevie Clark are the people that are in contention for the Celtic job. It is interesting, especially with the fact that Martin O'Neill is so close to something so historic. Stephen Johnson's coming in with a super chat this morning. He says, smash the like button, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Stephen Johnston, for telling everyone to do that. It's been an absolute pleasure this morning. I shall see you this afternoon after the Martin O'Neill final press conference of the SPFL season. It's going to be sad, isn't it? It will be sad in a way. We know that we've got Martin for one more week, but gone, but certainly not forgotten. Tommy Burns, when our hearts were broken. I don't remember that. I'm going to finish up the poll question right there, and I shall see you all later on this afternoon. Have an absolutely fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world.